Hi friends, welcome to Law Chat with Girija. This is your legal BFF, Girija Patel. Thank you for tuning in. I am so grateful for every single one of you for tuning in and listening, because this is what Law Chat is about. It's a place for you to be inspired, a place for you to gain some more wisdom and knowledge about your industry, but a place also where you can receive mentorship through storytelling. Thank you so much. Now, I know that before we walk into this next episode, whether you're tuning in through your iTunes or through other form of a podcast, or whether this is on YouTube, I would love for you to share this information with someone else, somebody who is your friend, your family, a colleague, somebody in your community, someone who can really be inspired by this as well and benefit from the information and from the stories that we're sharing with you today. Law Chat is to help the community, is to boost the community, is to inspire the community. And I want you to help me to do that. So thank you so much for that. Let's get started. Hi friends, welcome to Law Chat with your legal BFF, Girija Patel. On today's episode, I'm actually going to be talking about how to start a company with your best friend or with a family member or with somebody else that you just met or have known for a while. So essentially, how to start a business with somebody else, aka your partner in crime in your business. And so let's get started. The information that I am sharing with you is for educational purposes only and for informational purposes only. It is not meant for you or your specific business. It is very general in nature. So if you do have a question that requires an expert, please go find that expert that can help you in your business. And of course, we're here. GBP Law is here. You can always connect with us. The links are in the show notes, and we would love to say hi to you. Okay, let's get started. So starting a business with somebody else is exciting. In fact, in the beginning stages of starting a business, everything is so rosy. And a lot of times they say it's a marriage. It's a marriage in business. And it truly is, because a lot of things you have to discuss in the beginning and make sure they're all clarified before you move forward in your business. And again, while you may not be signing a prenuptial, but in the business world, a prenuptial is your partnership agreement or your company agreement or any other type of agreement that you are signing with your business partner. Because at the end of the day, those agreements are super, super important. You cannot, all bold, all caps, not have some type of agreement between you and your business partner. Because if you don't, and if something were to happen, default laws apply. And sometimes those default laws are not going to be favorable to either party or even one party, the members or, the partners. And so you want to make sure that your expectations are managed, that the way you and your partner have come together in this business deal, that your conversations are expressed in the partnership agreement or company agreement or whatever other types of agreement that you might be having with one another. And so it's super important to have that. Number one thing is a company agreement, which is usually used for LLC formations, or another type of agreement if you are a corporation, or a partnership agreement if you're just a general partnership. You need to have something in writing. And those company agreements generally cover the rules that each person is playing, or how much money, capital investment they're putting in, how much money they're taking out, and also the intellectual property ownership. Who owns that? Does the company own it, or do you all own it? And how do you own it? Who can sell, who cannot sell? How can you exit the business if you need to exit? What are some of the strategies that we need to employ? What happens if one person is married or both are married and they have a divorce? What happens at that point? Or what if somebody passes away? How do you handle those situations? And hopefully that agreement between you and your partner is going to identify those issues and also solve those issues or help you resolve those issues as you encounter them in your business relationship. Now, that is actually like fast forwarding to maybe step 3 or 4 with a company agreement, but it just feels it's so important to have it. So I want to talk about it right away. But when you are starting a business with somebody, the ideas that are coming out, the process of the business that you're thinking about, all those things are coming together and you want to just put them out there and you want to just get started right away. It is all amazing and congratulations to you. However, everything seems rosy in the beginning. And what we need to do is always ensure that you and your business partner or partners are protected. And so when you are thinking about these processes and you're thinking about the business idea, generally teams, people, they start showing their skill sets. They start showing
the areas that they have a strong hold on. And you really want to lean into those areas and actually, have maybe those people really cultivate those areas. So you might have a partner who's really good in marketing, who's really good in sales, who's really good in acquiring clients. Hello, where the money is, right? And you might be really good in developing the idea, developing the systems and the processes and the services and the products. And there you go. You kind of already have a idea of who's going to be taking control of what space in the business, but you need to identify that again in writing, and so it's understood. And also the roles each person is playing. Is somebody going to be a president? Is somebody going to be a CFO? Is someone going to be, CTO, chief technological officer, or is somebody going to be the CEO? Like, how are you identifying the roles? And then another major thing that you need to talk about is money. Sometimes it's not equal. It's not equal. And I also highly suggest getting equal 50-50 partnership, because when things are tough, it's hard to make a decision. You need to have somebody who can make that decision at that time, and somebody who is not going to be vetoed just because you guys are at standstill, because it's 50-50. So 50-50 is not always advisable. What's advisable is one person having more ownership or more shares or percentage ownership as opposed to the other person. So it's easy to make those decisions when there is a standstill. And other things that you need to consider when you are starting a partnership with somebody is having those thoughts out in play, and also having an attorney that's not representing both of you, but an attorney that represents each one of you. You have two separate attorneys, because at the end of the day, you might have somebody drafting your contract, which is wonderful, but they're representing the company a lot of times. They're not representing either or. And so you want to have another set of eyes looking at the company agreement and making sure that that company agreement is in the best interest for you. And so while sometimes company agreements are in the best interest of the company and not necessarily one party or one member or one partner, so have another set of eyes, another set of lawyers looking at your agreements, because that lawyer is not representing you or the other person. They're generally representing the company. And usually lawyers also disclose that, hey, I represent XYZ, so please go and talk to somebody else and make sure that this contract or this agreement is good for you. And so that's something that's really important as well.
I hate to interrupt this awesome conversation, but I have to stop and talk with you about the number one thing I'm asked about by entrepreneurs: contracts. They're vital to any business relationship and to protect your business. But I also know that entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting up, money is tight. But I would never want you to compromise on a strong legal foundation. So enter yourcontractbuddy.com, a website created by me with contract templates created and drafted by me and fellow industry partners. They're ready to use and easy to plug in immediately, and they are not restricted to any specific state. So yourcontractbuddy.com is sponsoring this episode, and you and your listener can get 10% off right now with code LAWCHAT. Yes, you heard me right. 10% off right now with code LAWCHAT. And now back to our awesome conversation.
Now, when you are first starting that business relationship, it's important to, again, discuss your strengths, discuss the areas and the rules that each person is going to be playing, discuss the capital contributions that each person is going to be putting into the pot, discuss the percentage of ownership that is going to be delineated in this relationship as well. And how's the distribution going to be coming back to you, and how does that look? And then if there's requirement of more money, then how does that also look? Like, can that call come anytime, or can that call come at specific times? Are there any benchmarks that you're trying to meet? How are you going to meet those benchmarks and things like that? So those are some type of conversations that not just go to the relationship of the partners, but it also goes to, again, the strategizing and the long-term goals of the company as well. And then if you also have, a lot of times where the sticky parts come in to play are the exit. How can one exit the company, and how does that look? Is there going to be a non-compete? Will there be an exclusivity while you are in this one business? Can you start another business of similar nature? And if you can, that's wonderful. If you can't, that's wonderful too. But what does that look like? Because a lot of times you're starting a company, and then while you're starting a company, one person might get an opportunity to get involved into another type of business that may be similar in nature, but it's not exactly the same. Or while they're in this company and doing these services and products, another idea or another product sparks in their mind. Who owns that? That's a big question. Intellectual property becomes a big question. And then again, the exit part of it becomes another question. And so you need that clarity in the documentation that you have in the contract, and also have that conversation, because it's something that you're creating maybe during the time of the company. Maybe it's in the office while you are in company hours, but really it's just something that you are creating and is not anything related to your company. But who owns that? Does the company own it, or does that partner only own it and solely they own it? So those conversations need to be put out there and understood by all parties, so everybody's on the same page. And the brand, the intellectual property, again, who owns that? How do you exit? What does that look like? And then is there a non-compete after that if you exit? Meaning, can they start something similar in nature or the same thing within the same city, the same state? Have to have those conversations as well. And then what if you want to add some other people into the mix, into the pot? How does that look? What kind of a vote do you need at that point? Is it going to be a majority vote, or is it going to be a unanimous vote? So as these different points come into the equation, whether it is intellectual property, or whether it's starting a new business, or whether it's adding new people on, or diluting a business, or terminating a division in your company, all of these generally require votes. And so you want to have it clear as to who and how and what this vote looks like. And when you convene for these votes, and is it a majority or is it a unanimous vote that's required? And they don't all have to be equal. One can be one type, one can be other type, but it has to be written out again in the company agreement, or in your general partnership agreement, or other types of agreements that you might have. All of these aspects are super important, and they're very important to discuss prior to formalizing any type of relationship with somebody, because these can become very contentious later on. And these areas are where sometimes, when you are in a contentious situation, it's not about the practical side of it anymore. It's the emotional side that comes into play, and the emotional side that needs to be handled, because a lot of times you're sticking to the guns because of the emotional aspect. So those are the parts that need to be monitored, as well as how will you handle it. So if your contract can kind of handle that and help pave the way on navigating it, then that's something that needs to be taken care of through that agreement between you and your partner or partners. Now, another thing that you want to look at when you are looking for partners, or when you are, seeing if this person is good for you, is your values. Like, do your values align? Do you sync in some sort of fashion? Are you getting good energy? And I know this is all maybe something that some people may or may not look at, but this is most definitely something that is important, is to see alignment of values, because ultimately these things do cause friction. So alignment of values is very important. Other things to look at as well is, now on a very practical side, is, are you going to be a minority owned business? Because a lot of times you get a little bit preference in certain types of contracts that you might be getting from third parties, especially if you're in the service industry, or you're providing certain types of products, maybe in the oil and gas country or in the health industry. A lot of times the bigger companies are told by the government to give certain contracts to certain types of businesses. And so if you are a women-owned business or other type of minority-owned business, it's okay to go and get yourself classified as that. Therefore, you can have maybe an upper hand in, achieving certain types of contracts through other companies that maybe otherwise perhaps might have been more difficult. And that's okay. So it's okay to do that, and it's okay to have that kind of a thought process also when you are setting up your business and looking for partners for your business as well. Overall, it's really important to have open communication with your partners. It's really important to have a understanding between you and your partners as well. Initially, things always seem amazing, and they always seem rosy and just beautiful. But when the contention does come, it can become really horrific at times. And so the best way to really help yourself and set yourself up for success and not failure is to have certain contracts in place, is to have open communications. And also, it's not to step on each other's toes. Have meetings set up, regular meetings with your team and with your partners to discuss issues, to go over things, whether that's a monthly meeting or a weekly, whatever that works for your business, but have that communication line open at all times and have that ability to have those conversations from the get-go and say that. We're going to have hard conversations, but that's okay, because these hard conversations are going to help us move forward and go through the difficult times together. Nothing that we achieve is always going to be easy, and sometimes through the hard comes the beauty. And so having the ability and the will to do that will be super helpful to you and to your business as well. And these tips that I'm giving you today, some of them are legal, some of them are pretty, basic, and a lot of them are just like obvious and logical. And putting them into practice can be tough, but if you set up a practice that is a standardized practice, that is something that you're committed to, that is something that you are going to do regardless of whether it seems like an extra step along the way and you feel like you can just avoid it, or why are we doing that today? But if it sets up clear communications, if it sets up where you are adhering to your promises and the understandings that you and your partners have gotten into prior to getting into this business relationship, it's going to be worthwhile and it's going to be beneficial to all of you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Law Chat. I hope this was super beneficial to you. I really enjoyed sharing this information with you today. And I have to ask you for a favor. Like I did in the beginning, I'm going to ask you again. Please share this with your community, whether it's a friend, family, or another colleague, or someone else on your Facebook or Instagram or other social media spot. Share this, subscribe, and stay tuned for other episodes coming in so you are always up to date. But then also take another moment and share this episode with your community, because when you share it with everybody else, not only are they benefiting, but also the information that I'm sharing is reaching out to more people, because at the end of the day, we want to rise together with our community, and I can only do that with your help. Now, I am so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that you tuned in, and I want to hear from you as well. So shoot me a DM on Instagram at GVP Law or at Law Chat with Girija. I would love to hear from you. I would love to also hear what other episodes that you would like to hear about, topics that you want to hear about, and also just connect with you. And thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, cheers.